It's time once again to answer questions from you. First question is from Ashala Silva, who says, I am a piano teacher in Abu Dhabi. Some students ask, why is the piano starting with the note middle C and not the note A? Because the alphabet is starting with A. If one of your students asked that question, what would your answer be? My answer would be that I start with A, especially for younger students. If you got an older student who's really comfortable moving forward and backwards to the alphabet, then starting with a C is fine. The traditional books are going to start with a C because they usually start with sight reading as well, because it's a book, and that's the whole point of them being there, is to teach you stuff out of a book. But I'm more interested in playing songs and getting my students to experience making music, and then we talk after that about how to notate that and how all the symbols represent sounds that we're hearing. But the sounds are the important part of music. That seems obvious to me, but whatever, that's my style. So C is the easiest key to play in. So if you're writing a book on how to play piano, you would want to start with the key of C because that's the easiest thing to do. You don't have to worry about the geography of all the black notes and stuff like that. You just play straight through all white notes. So they're starting with C, and they usually have a hand position, so they're usually just having you play finger numbers. So it's a 5 and a 3 and a 4 and a 2 and a 1 and a 3 and a 1, but it's not the key numbers there. It's not the first scale degree and the second scale degree. They're just telling you where to put your fingers. And here, press this finger, press this finger, press this finger, and music will come out. Not true, but whatever. That's not your question. So your question is about why don't we start on A? So I do start on A because, especially for younger students, I'm 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. It's easier for them if I need them to play a D, for example. They're going to count from A anyway. So if I can help them find, okay, you find a group of 3, take the middle note, drag it up, that's an A, and then we're going to count up to D, A, B, C, D. We do a lot of practice of that before we get into like giving them actual sheet music or any of that stuff. Just finding the notes, A, B, C, D. So finding that D, that is way faster than them knowing where C is. Okay, I can find a C, where's a D? I don't know, because in their minds, like C and D, like D is the letter after C, is a relatively advanced concept alphabetically. So being able to find a C, what most of them end up doing anyway is A, B, C, D. And that's harder to do than just A, B, C, D. I can go through them pretty quickly, but if I'm waiting to hit C, A, B, C, wait, no, A, B, C, C, and then D, trying to find that D is quicker if we start on A than if we start on C in most cases for younger students. Next question is from CJ. Have you changed the schedule? Yes, we have. So we used to do an 8-week course on one song, which was great. And we did the transcribing, and we did the tutorials and the reharmonization, one per week in the live lessons. And that was great. And now we've got several of those in the Musipedia. So now we are shifting the live lessons to be used for just tutorials for a little while. Really, the live lessons are great for things where there's a lot of student interaction and stuff, but the Musipedia, the pre-recorded custom courses, is really kind of the focus of the website right now. I'm trying to build up that library of videos. So because of that, we're using the live lessons to get more tutorials together. So when we've got a bunch of easy song tutorials in there, then we'll shift again and do other stuff. But like the jam sessions that we do and stuff, those are all really great for the live thing. So we're trying to utilize the live lessons for things that are best in a live setting, and then anything that could be pre-recorded like this, then we're not doing a live AMAs anymore. We're just pre-recording all that stuff so we can put it on demand. Next question. From Alicia in Michigan. I just signed up. How do I know what to work on? So it depends on what your learning style is. If you've signed up, that means that I'm your piano teacher, so we need to find out what we're doing here, just like if you were here in person. So that means like if your style is you just want to like learn all of the right things in the right order for the traditional method to play classical music, then you definitely want Copple Academy. That's the thing, you should just go start there. But some people hate that junk, and they would rather just like dive in and learn a song, and so they want to go to the custom courses and learn stuff there. So it really depends on your learning style. A lot of people come to Learn Piano Live and they already are working on something and they just need some more help with it. In that case, forget all of the online stuff. Just if you're a subscriber, then you've got me, you've got my attention. So go ahead and send me a video of whatever you're working on, and we'll work on your stuff, and you can leave all the Clopple Academy and live lessons and pre-recorded lessons and not use any of that. Just use me as your teacher. So it really depends on the student and what you're wanting to learn. I'm your teacher. Let's figure it out. Next question from a name I can't pronounce. Which courses are included with a membership? All of them. Anything that's on the site. There's the adult subscription, and there's the kids subscription, which are different prices because the kids have like gift cards and stuff they can win. It just costs a lot more to do that program. So there's different prices for those. The kids get access to all the kids archives. The adults get all the adult archives. But as far as pre-recorded lessons, Clopple Academy, anything else other than the actual live streams, that's available for anybody. If you're a subscriber, you got access to everything. Next question from James: is Clopple Academy part of the Musopedia? Not really. Clopple Academy is his own thing. It's 12 courses. However, it is a course, and probably the best way to go through the course is in the custom course. So we put Clopple Academy as one of the courses in the Musopedia, but the Musopedia is mostly just custom courses for a single topic. In the case of Clopple Academy, that was just a really easy format because we used to do PDFs and emails back and forth and stuff like that. But it's way easier to do it just using the Musopedia format. So it's the same format, but no, it's an entirely different type of thing. You're going to get certificates in that. We've got specific assignments. So mostly Musopedia is you just go there to learn about one topic that you want. Clopple Academy is we're going to tell you what you want to learn. You're going to learn all of your scales and all of your chords and all of the theory and all that stuff for classical and jazz. Next question from The Stupid Will Inherit the Earth. Talking about idioms, says some guys just listened and played a lot. Some transcribed a lot of solos. This should be right up front. Too many people are saying jazz is this dialect. You got to repeat their licks to be playing jazz. Yeah, so the idioms is not intended to be like licks, which is why we didn't use the word licks. They are just phrases that come up commonly. So this is not a great way, as we've said at the beginning of the idioms courses, it's not a great way to become a great jazz player, but it is a great way to look at what's happening and to be able to recognize little parts of it. In the same way that you're learning some other language, like as you're learning the most common phrases of that language, which is probably the most efficient way to learn a new language, is learn the most common languages and then build on top of that. You're not becoming a fluent speaker just by learning those phrases, but when you listen to the language, you will hear those phrases get used and you'll hear the context of them, and so you will become a fluent speaker perhaps more quickly if you're doing that than if you're just learning, like, here's all of the nouns and here's all the verbs and then conjugate all the verbs. It's just like straight through. So yeah, the idioms are not intended to be like, this is how you become a great player, is play a lot of these. It's more like, as you're listening to jazz, you might want to pay attention to this so that it's not just a flurry of random notes that all sound weird and stuff, but there are little like phrases and stuff in there that you can hear and that you've played. And then it's a matter of when you're transcribing a solo, it's way easier if you can hear a lick, an idiom in there, and be like, oh yeah, so there's that thing, and then I heard another one over there, but he did something else in the middle there. Then you're just transcribing that middle part instead of having to transcribe every single note, when a lot of times every single note is stuff that, you know, comes up commonly. And if you just heard it as a phrase, you could have just transcribed it as a phrase instead of doing the individual notes. So you are absolutely right. Idioms is not a great way to become a great jazz player, but for a lot of people who their brain works that way, it really helps them to codify the language and to get into it, make it all more accessible, which is hopefully what we're doing here, is making all this stuff more accessible, less scary. Next question. Saw Splish Splash says, talking about the Eric Weinstein video that we put out, a mostly self-taught player who teaches full-time. I think that Eric is completely right, but there are other factors to consider. I teach without needing to read at first and only later if they want to. Okay, so my lessons are, as he described, more akin to learning guitar. I learned through self-motivation and stuff. So yeah, that's great. There are definitely other factors to consider. I think Eric Weinstein was just talking about if you don't care to become a professional player, then there's a set of information that most teachers don't teach right up front because they're going in a more linear fashion, putting you on the track to become a professional pianist. So if you're not wanting to become a professional pianist, then you just want up front, what's the quickest way for me to sound as good as possible with the least amount of work, which is just heresy to most piano teachers. So yeah, that's kind of what he's talking about. If you're teaching piano, if someone's coming to you for lessons, then they're probably not there to just learn as much as possible, as quick as possible, and then get out. They want to be on some kind of track of like traditional learning or something like that. So you have to kind of decide that with each student. Hopefully it's a conversation, especially with adult students that you're having as adult students come in. Hey, do you want to make this a 6-month thing and learn as much as you can? Or is this like a lifelong thing that you just want to kind of enjoy and learn as you go along? Or kind of what's your goal and all that stuff? I think that's what he's talking about. Next question. Bill Ligon says, so my piano teacher wants me to play simple-minded pieces, whereas I can play through a Beethoven sonata. My teacher wants me to play stuff which I've played years ago, and I don't want to play again. My theory is lacking. If I have enough theory to play a Beethoven sonata, why would my teacher want me to play the simple stuff? I want to select my music. Period, full stop. Why go backwards? Okay, let's pull this thing apart. First of all, the stuff that we agree on. You shouldn't have to go backwards. Period, full stop. You should be able to do whatever songs you want to do. Period, full stop. I don't think I'm full stopping at the end of these, actually, but whatever, we'll say it anyway. It sounds good. Maybe it is that your teacher doesn't know how to play what you want to play, and they also don't want to lose the income. So it's possible that they are as much a fraud as you're afraid they are. But there are some other explanations too. It's entirely possible that your teacher can play that stuff, but they just have a method that they go through. Like, I know teachers, well, there are Suzuki teachers that just teach straight through the Suzuki method with the Suzuki books. There are Alfred teachers that just teach through the Alfred books, and they just have their method, and they know it really, really well, and it works for most of the students that come in. And so that's their thing, is they've made the career of doing that. And if you're looking for something else, then you need to find another teacher. But again, you got the income issue, so they might really truly believe that their method is the best. And so when you come in wanting some other method, they're like, yeah, I know, but I know what's best for you. So they try to get you into their method. They could be right, but they're not. And then we start to get really sympathetic for the teacher here. It's entirely possible that, I don't know you, so it's entirely possible that it feels to you like you're moving backwards, but you're not actually. I've had some students that came in and they played through some stuff that was really impressive to them, but there was just a lot of stuff that was really lacking in their playing. Some wrong technique, bad habits that were gonna make it impossible for them to reach a fuller potential, or the potential they need to reach in order to get some bigger songs. So they play me something that they've learned that's really fast, and the rhythms are just atrocious inside of it, but they feel really confident about it, and they're like, I also want to do this song. I'm like, you're just physically not going to be able to make it through that song using the technique that you currently have. And I try to find a softer way to say that. So then we got to go back and fix some of the habits that they have in order to release them to have the potential to get up to the song that they're wanting to do. So that might be the case too. And for them, it feels like, but I can already do this really cool thing. Why do I have to do this really simple thing? Because that's the skill you're going to need in order to do this more complicated thing that you're wanting to do. In most cases, though, I think it's just a communication issue. So I've more frequently have students who come in, I'm like, so what do you want to work on? They're like, well, I really want to do theory. And so we get into theory, and then they don't tell me for 4 or 5 weeks that what I'm teaching them, which is music theory, is not what they were asking for when they were asking for music theory. They really wanted something else that in their mind they categorize as theory. And I'm sure some of those students left going, man, that guy, he's a terrible teacher. I mean, I went in there and I wanted to learn music theory. He started teaching me all this other stuff. Well, there's just a communication issue. If you would have told me that you were frustrated all along the way, or if you would have used the proper language at the beginning, which there's no reason you should know the proper language, but if you're not getting what you thought that you wanted out of lessons, then you need to say something. So it might just be a communication issue that you have different goals, but you don't know that you have different goals. Lastly, and this is the least charitable to you, it's entirely possible that your goals are just unrealistic. So I think in the majority of cases, students overtrust their teachers in the same way that in the majority of cases, patients overtrust their doctor. You go in and the doctor says, hey, you need this thing over here. And you're like, yeah, whatever, you're the doctor. And they like, don't go get a second opinion on it. So that's crazy. You shouldn't do that. The teacher's the same way. You go in, you're like, hey, I want to do this thing. Like, yeah, cool. Here's the book that you need to buy. You maybe should not trust them as much and maybe either get a second opinion or communicate a lot about why you're doing that and why you have to do it. Like any student that asks me, like we get into some assignment, they're like, well, why do we have to do this? The answer is either that's awesome, I'm glad that you're interested in that, let me explain to you how this is going to pay off. And I'm probably gonna give them a longer answer than they even wanted in the first place. And I'm excited about that. Or it's, oh, I thought you wanted to do that, so if you don't want to do that, let's not do that. One of those two things. Any other answer, I would be suspicious of their motives or knowledge, I think. So that's the first thing, is most students overtrust their teacher. However, there are some students too, especially adult students, who undertrust their teacher and they just have really unrealistic expectations. So like if I go into a physical trainer and I'm like, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds and lift competitively in 6 months, probably that's not gonna happen. And if it is, you're gonna need to do this and this. You need to cut out the carbs. You need to come in 4 times a week, and we're gonna need to train maybe a couple times a day or whatever it is. I don't know how to train for weightlifting, obviously. So, but whatever it is that they have for me, and I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. I'm gonna come in like once or twice a week. I don't think I should need to come in more than that. I'm not cutting out carbs. That's ridiculous. So I'm gonna keep doing this stuff. And if you're a good trainer, I should be there in 6 months. At some point, any good trainer's got to go, maybe there's someone out there who can do what you're talking about, but it's not me. You probably need to find somebody else. And if you find out that you want to follow my plan, come on back. Otherwise, no hard feelings, but we need to end this relationship earlier rather than later. I think a lot of piano teachers should be in the same situation when someone comes in, especially adult students, and they're like, hey, I want to be able to play this thing, and I think that it should take me 3 months, and I have no piano experience. Then at some point, like, the teacher either has to say, here's all the stuff that you're going to need to do, or they're going to need to say, you probably need to find another piano teacher. And, maybe if we've got longer timelines or other goals, then come back to me and I'd be happy to work with you. But I think just clear communication all the way through is going to be really helpful. Next question. PG Tip says, what piano is it that you're using, if you don't mind me asking? Okay, so it's a Young Chang grand piano. I'm actually gonna do a separate video just to answer that question, because there's a lot more that goes into it, because a lot of what you're hearing is the digital sounds that are coming out of it. It's an acoustic piano, and it's also a digital piano, because we took an acoustic piano, acoustic grand, and then inserted a bunch of electronics into it so it can read each of the notes and stuff. So I'm gonna do a full breakdown of that one. That one's gonna get more time than the rest of them. But if you have questions that I haven't answered in this or any of the other Ask Me Anythings, then send your question along. We'll get to it next time. Till then, good luck, have fun.